Hey everyone, it's Neil, and it's great to be back with you. We're going to take a look at a track for our product called Damaged Guitars 2. As the resident guitarist, this project was super exciting for me. I was able to take my time experimenting with these amazing guitars, fat-sounding tube amps, and an endless array of guitar effects pedals to create the sound of Damaged Guitars 2. Building upon Damaged Guitars 1, DG2 adds tons of leads, licks, riffs, effects, and a number of expressive playable guitars that evolve into super cool harmonic feedback. There's also a whole section dedicated to cinematic elements to build really unique textures. I think you'll find DG2 really fun and inspiring to create tracks with. Let's do it. So I'm going to play the whole track through, and then we'll go into each section and we'll take a look at all the elements that I'm using. There's a lot going on, there's a lot of parts, and there's different preset types that are creating what you're about to hear. Let's check it out. All right, cool. There is a lot going on, and it's pretty exciting stuff. Let's start at the first section. Let's take a look at the designer. So I'm going to solo these three parts here, and these are more of the like ambient, murky sound design, Heavyocity vibe that came from guitars. So so that is sort of the pad vibe building underneath. Second is the playable guitars. Let me open that instance. Here we go. So on this, I want to go into the individuals. So if we listen to the first one, it's sort of an organic, single, playable guitar part. This one is sort of the ambient version where the attack is really long. It's super cool and kind of soupy. So if you play a chord, as it sustains, you start to get these harmonic. The harmonics aren't totally random in some cases, depending on which playable you choose. This is called like the metal, I called it single note 8VA, meaning that the sustain that happens, I used a special guitar that has a sustainer on it, and the sustain actually starts to come an octave above the primary note, but not always. It's a little random, which kind of makes it super cool to play chords with because you get these different harmonic overtones. So moving on, in the same section, there are chords that you also have access to. And they're not all super wet. All those effects I put on because I wanted the intro to be really ambient and soupy. To make it sort of a little more frenetic and exciting, I used this gate effect. So as the chord plays, you're going to see some modulation happening. So there, I love that. I'm taking the rate of the gate and using modulators. You can choose any. I have like this here. Can you see it over there? Yep. Or a complete controller, and you can just, right click. In my case, I have it on this crazy 4-button mouse, and you can say learn MIDI controller and just twist one of your knobs and then actually automate that. And so that's what I did to give it sort of a little extra something, a little of that frenetic movement. So the intensity of the gate is being modulated as well as the speed. Cool. So moving on to the menu, which has all of the sounds that you could possibly imagine: riffs, licks, leads, phrases, guitar, dive bombs, scrapes, bends. There's so much in the library, and it's in 3 different keys. I'm just using the key of F sharp. But the intro starts off with this. And this is a motif. This one happens to be called Maze Frenzy. And I'm playing with a filter. If you look at the MIDI, I got some panning going on. A lot of volume swells, and then down here are my controllers, which I had attached to the cutoff. Repig. Or these are all motifs, which are, again, heavily affected, very wet because it was the intro. So that's effectively what's happening with the MIDI data down here. If we blow up this so I can read it, I use controller 23, and you'll see it's sort of bumping along and sculpting that cutoff. It's opening up more. It's all about using the elements so they're just sort of not dry guitar. I wanted to be creative in using the engine because it's very powerful, where you have filter, where you have all these effects, where you can use panning, you can do things with the gate to sort of do that frenetic sort of motion and almost like a sporadic movement. That was what I was going after. So other elements in here, it's a guitar scrape, but super wet. And that's coming from the menu down here. Number 14, transitions 2, which is like dead strokes and slides, and essentially just with a ton of reverb and delay on it. So moving ahead, build. Just to quickly cover what's going on in this break here. So that's just a riff that's playing, and I've got guitar with a filter that opens up as time goes on. You can see the MIDI data, and the bass is also in this preset. So as it plays, I'm sort of like pulling the blanket off the top, so to speak. And that's also happening with the drums. So I use the Damage drum kit, but all of Damage Rock Grooves 2, which is sort of the partner drum library that goes along with Damage Guitars 2, is made from the Damage kit. So I did use some of the Rock Grooves loops, but I also made some of my own drum beats just because I like to. Here's that groove, which is in reverb, getting drier. With the riff. Having fun with this. So in this section, sort of the B section with the melody, I wanted to use again this organic metal guitar. So I did some chordal stuff. I'll just solo that. Now again, these are those really cool wet sustaining guitars that have that octave sustain sort of feedback. And again, I'm using the gate sporadically, as you can see here where I wrote the controller data in. That is playing along with this whole riff sequence, which comes from Metal Kit 1, which is just metal riffs. We'll find that. So this is playing from this preset. They're grayed out because I'm a compulsive saver when I do sessions. I like to save my snapshots, especially if I add like controllers to the filter or something. In case it ever crashes, I always have them. I'm a little nuts. So it's coming from preset 03, Metal Kit 1, and instead of just holding down like a riff, let me open this up, I'm sort of alternating answering with a different riff, and you'll see the name of those riffs come up. It's guitar, and then it's an answer with a fragment of that riff, and above it is the bass. It was just quick and easy for me to throw this together and not separate. You can do this, separate the bass and the guitar into two different presets and then have more control. But let's take a listen. So it adds some variation, so you're not just playing the same riff. You know, you're sort of making your own up with answers to the riff at the end, and then you start throwing in the organic sort of melodic element that we played earlier, and you have your own soup, your own composition. It's augmented by other stuff, mainly like the driving drums, but in this section, it's really just chugging along with those two parts. So. And also, not to be ignored is a very important part of this, which are the leads, the licks, the melody stuff. These are in phrases, so this is the first time you're sort of hearing this. So that's like a guitar solo, or I call them licks or leads. There are 72 individual lead phrases for the key of F sharp that we're in under metal, and then there's another 72 under damaged, which have a similar tone, so you can sort of mix and match those phrases. And then there's hard rock, which still can work in the composition, even if you're sort of like playing really heavy metal grooves, but there's tons to choose from and sort of stitch together and make your own. That's just a few, and yes, tons of effects, because in this break, I threw some delay on it. Let's go to the next section where there is more guitar lead stuff going on. So if we pick that up around 28, which will be the end. This is, again, a bunch of phrases. And you can see it playing through the waveform right here, ending with a crazy high note. Ah! Guitar God. So that sort of plays into a little break, which I'm using the lesser crazy, sort of metal and damaged guitar leads. It's from the hard rock stuff. Right, so it's playing from this patch, which is 07 Rock Kit, right? And there's all sorts of different stuff going on in there. If whatever you want to use. There's riffs called Drive It Home. And then there's the sort of companion bass for those first 12 riffs. There are a ton of riffs for metal, for damaged, and for hard rock for each key, and there's 3 keys. In this break, I thought it would be fun, since we're sort of in this metal with these like very ambient sort of metal leads, melodic leads, to break into the hard rock thing and use the effects in the engine to go sort of lo-fi. So if we take a look at this specific patch, I'm calling it a patch, it's a preset, or a snapshot is the technical term, but it's all the same semantics. So the riff is playing, and then we have more of a rock tone where I used the 1959 Marshall and this V40 Deluxe with some pedals in front of it to get more of a classic rock tone. And there's tons of those licks. So you can mix and match, but you'll see there's a whole bunch of controller data going on as I was having fun with saturation moving, the distortion in the engine using byte, which is you can play with the sample rate and the bit. So it's sort of like a bit crushed thing happening. The next section coming up is metal. Let's make that yellow, since it's a solo, because yellow will tell me it's a lead. All right, so here we're using metal leads. It is snapshot 10, and we've got And then I'm jumping up to this other lick. And again, there's a gazillion here. If you like whammy bar, it's in there. Okay, so let's check it out from here. So the riff, just so we can cover everything here in this section. I'm doing the same thing. I'm letting most of the riff play, and it's called That's Metal. And then answering with a riff called Snarl. And again, I have the bass playing the same riffs. So which worked pretty nicely with the solos that we just checked out. So let's hear that. Motif right here, and then solo. So this last section here, I sort of wanted to reverse how it came in. I'm sort of deconstructing this metal groove, and it's starting off, you know, playing the riff without any filter, and slowly it's filtering less and less top end, and it becomes more ambient. So we have these riffs in the end. You're seeing the filter here, and that's written right here. Boom, filter. So we got, but the filter is obviously moving, as you can see. I wrote that data in when I wrote the parts, and bass and guitar I did separately here, so I could filter them separately. So let's listen to the other things happening in this section. And that's how it ends. All right, quick look at what is happening. We already looked at the riffs. The drums are doing a similar thing, but this is all about the guitars. So let's check that out. Under the organic ambient metal single note that I've been using throughout the session, let's take a listen to that. And then big chord. Just some panning happening. You can see here with the modulator. And then it's out. This little chord. Which is the gate, and using the modulator to change the rate that the gate is occurring, you know, eighth notes all the way up to maxing out at 64. And the rest of it is just some booms happening from another product we have called DM307. It's got some great synthetic booms, and then a gated snare in reverse rushing into them. So it's like kind of fun sound design thing. So let's play from the top, and that will wrap it up. So that's Damaged Guitars 2. I hope you guys enjoyed the track walkthrough. You can find out more information about DG2 at Heavyocity.com. Please give this video a like and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, stay in the know with the latest and greatest info coming from Heavyocity by joining our mailing list. That's all for now, so take care and thanks for watching.